Again, I know the Chinese name for this. I think I have to write. I'll give myself half a mark for this. I'm gonna disappoint all the
I'm
viewers.
gonna disappoint everyone. Okay, 3,
Yeah.
2, 1, go. Hi everyone, I'm Haylin. I'm a product manager from a late-stage startup in Southeast Asia. What is it like to work for a Chinese tech company? On one hand, Chinese tech companies are well known for being very innovative, agile, and committed to driving profits. They have also been contributing very much to the vibrant tech ecosystem in Southeast Asia. However, on the other hand, people who have worked for Chinese tech companies have very strong opinions, especially about the working culture. For example, the infamous 996 working culture, the 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., 6 days a week. Does it apply to Southeast Asia? And also, is it a requirement to speak Chinese? Today, I'm so excited to welcome my friend Chan Wei, who has worked for a myriad of Chinese tech companies. He is now a senior product manager at NetEase and has previously worked for Garena. Hey Chan Wei, welcome to the channel!
Hi Helen, thanks so much for having me.
How do you actually transition into product?
I did a very generalist degree in philosophy, politics, and economics. My first job, it was at CARRO, and I actually worked as a business analyst. So I spent some time actually working in Thailand. But after that, I switched to Garena. Well, mainly because I was interested in joining the gaming industry. I first spent about 6 months doing operations and strategy, and eventually I was given the opportunity to transfer to a product role. I got into Garena partly because I am a very passionate gamer myself. They chose me because I like gaming, and I chose them because I'm passionate about gaming myself. What set me apart a little bit was I was able to give quite a lot of different and innovative suggestions about how to improve existing products, not just point out problems, but also solutions.
CARRO is still like a more Southeast Asian company, but then Garena is having like Chinese origins. So then why did you decide to make that leap?
So when I was in CARRO, well, very simply put, the working language was completely in English. However, as I transitioned more and more to the role of product, well, it went a lot more to having to use Chinese on a daily basis.
The reason why you would use Chinese, was it because most of your colleagues were based in China, or even in the Southeast Asian office itself, you were already conversing in Chinese?
My own team, they were all based in China. In fact, I was supposed to be stationed in China, but I still stayed back in Singapore, mainly due to, well, COVID happened during that time. I actually had quite a few colleagues in China. They are not like Chinese. Some of them are Vietnamese, Thailand, Russian, and well, some people from the West as well. But if the team has 10 people and everyone understands Chinese well, even if 2 of the people are, Russian and Thai, well, everyone just speaks in Chinese because it's just easier to communicate for everybody.
Interesting. So the Russian and Thai colleagues would also converse in Chinese?
Yes, so I think that was a little bit more of the selection. Even if they wanted someone for like a global role, if the person was based in China, they would just naturally prefer people who are able to speak Chinese, at least semi-business proficient.
Now that we are on this topic about speaking Mandarin, speaking Chinese, do you think it's a requirement for people who are interested to join Chinese tech companies to speak Mandarin?
Sorry, when I first transitioned to product in Garena, I was supposed to be stationed in China. So actually, then one of my main concerns, I asked my boss, my Chinese is not very good. He said, why worry? All your colleagues there, they understand English, they can speak English. Well, many of my China colleagues, so they all graduate from a Chinese university, and most of them, they learn English even up to and when they're in university. So yes, they speak, read, write. Yeah, their English is pretty good. But it doesn't mean that they will use it as the mode of communication in meetings or in documentation. I think it is just a utilitarian approach. Most teams will just gravitate to whichever language best increases the team efficiency, even though many people in the team, they could speak 2 or even multiple languages. It definitely does help because Chinese, most of them, even if they have stayed overseas, they are still most comfortable speaking in their native language.
Chan Wei, your Chinese must be really, really, really powerful, right?
Wow. Wow. I definitely do not dare to say yes to that.
But I'm sure your Chinese is like way more powerful than mine. So we are going to play a game.
Let's go for it.
Let's test our level of Chinese proficiency in the context of product management jargon.
Okay, it's going to be really awkward if you beat me in this game.
I'm sure I probably won't. So what we'll do is that I will prepare a list of product management jargons, which I don't even know like the Chinese translations to. And then we will pick from this deck of cards and provide the Chinese translation to these English product management jargon. I'm also very nervous for this. We're gonna write our answers on our iPads.
If I lose, you probably need to cut this scene already.
I'm sure you won't. Okay, let's begin.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's do this.
Let me shuffle the cards. So, okay, Chan Wei, you can pick the first one.
Yeah, I'll just pick the 1, the 3 right.
Okay,
before.
cool. What does it say?
Okay.
Okay, it says product requirement document. Oh gosh. When you're ready, you may begin.
I'm kind of ready. I forgot how to write the first word.
Okay, in 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, so the Chinese name for it is 策划稿.
策划稿,
But I
okay.
clearly do not know how to write the first word.
I wrote 产品企划书.
So there actually is another name for it. Sometimes I hear some people call it 产品文档. I think to some extent it depends on the culture of the company. What do they call their product managers to begin with? So in some companies, if they call their product manager 产品经理, then 产品文档 would be more common. But such as in my current company, NetEase, where they call the product managers 产品策划, we usually use 策划稿. So it's kind of like bound to the identity of product managers in the company
I
as well.
see. Interesting. I guess you can have 1 mark and I can have 1 mark too.
Yeah. That's,
Yeah. So now it's still like even. For now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good start.
Okay, let's try. I'm gonna pick the next one, okay? Sprint.
Again, I know the Chinese name for this, but I think I have to write. I'll give myself half a mark for this. I'm gonna disappoint all the
I'm gonna
viewers.
disappoint everyone. Okay, 3,
Yeah.
2, 1, go.
I didn't even write mine in Chinese, Haley.
迭
Dai.
代.
So I think because I type every single thing, so
Yeah, it's
I will
totally
know
fine. It's
how to
totally
write
fine.
it, but not.
We will,
to
we will
write
accept the
it.
Hanyu Pinyin as well. 迭代 actually, so that means sprint.
A more accurate translation would be an iteration or even a version of sprint, the concept of sprints and agile. Yeah, not every Chinese company adopts it. However, that would be common because no matter what product methodology you subscribe by, surely your product is bound by versions.
I wrote 起跑, which is obviously wrong. 起跑 just means start running. Yeah, so I'll get 0 and you will get 1 mark for that.
I think 1 mark is very generous. Yeah.
Let's try another one. So your turn to pick.
Okay, sure. Let's go with this one.
Okay, the next one, this is growth metrics. Oh my
Wow.
gosh. Growth metrics.
Wow, who set the quiz?
I said the quiz, but I also have no idea. Let me think.
Okay. Hope I'm not disappointing. My Chinese.
No worries. Okay, in 3, 2, 1. Oh,
What did you
okay.
write?
You wrote 增长数据, which is like the growth stats. I wrote 增长指标.
To be honest, I think yours is more accurate.
Really?
Yeah,
指
I
标
think it is.
指标 Okay, let's not turn this into a Chinese lesson, but okay, I guess we can get both 1 mark for this. Look for the next one. Okay, this is t-shirt sizing.
What has this got to
T-shirt sizing.
Okay, so
It's like engineering estimation of the
that is
effort.
correct.
But is this a concept actually that Chinese tech companies use?
We definitely have something equivalent, but we wouldn't call it t-shirt
sizing.
In fact, I don't think there is like a very fixed term for such a concept. To give an example, if you want an estimate of time or the workload, usually you call it something like, well, yeah, I don't think I can answer your question. So, this is 估点.
估点.
So it's just estimate.
估点. Okay, it makes sense as well. It just means estimation of the story points. Now we're left with the last one, and is daily stand-up. I have no idea about this.
I'm just admiring my handwriting.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
So as you can see, what did you write?
I just wrote Hui Yi, which is meeting,
okay.
but it's too general. But yours is Chen Hui, which is in the morning, the meeting in the morning.
Yeah, not every company or team will have the practice of doing a stand-up. If they do, it could sometimes be only in the evening and not in the morning.
I see.
And I think secondly, well, the previous company I was in after Garena, we actually did this, but it was called Chen Hui. I think one very key reason why it was not, I don't know why such a name doesn't exist in Chinese is because nobody stood up, everyone was sitting down.
Okay, well done, Chan Wei. You won the game. Congratulations. Okay, so let's continue with our chat. We've heard so much about Chinese tech companies and kind of like the infamous culture in Chinese tech companies, which is the 996 or the 996, where you have to work 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week. Right now, I understand the Chinese government is already banning this, at least officially. However, does that actually apply to Southeast Asian Chinese tech companies?
Begin with, I'm here on a Saturday.
Okay.
So I'm living proof that 996 surely is not a one-size-fits-all thing. And to clarify, I do not need to go to work after this. Well, if your parent company is from China and they have a branch in Singapore, they usually respect the local laws and regulations quite well. And I mean, this doesn't just range from, not having a 6-day work week. It also ranges to, observances of Singapore holidays. You get to celebrate, for example, Malays on Deepavali. The amount of leave you get a year. Actually, in Chinese tech companies, it's quite common for fresh graduates to start with about 5 days of annual leave. But of course, this is unheard of in Singapore. Even when I did national service, I had 14 days of leave. So of course, they try their best to adapt it to Singapore. So no matter how in Singapore, it will always be pretty well managed. If they do it 996 in Singapore and other Chinese tech companies in Singapore do not do that, well, it's a simple case of their people will just go to the company that doesn't disrupt that weekend.
I see.
But like most other companies, I would say OT definitely does happen. Well, if you OT, there is no compensation. Perhaps Chinese tech companies in Singapore, you may have to OT a little bit more.
Because I understand that product teams actually work cross-country and cross-regionally. So if, let's say, your engineering team is located in China and they don't have a holiday on that day, or they're working overtime, then are you expected then as a product manager to join in and facilitate discussions, for example?
So in my past experience at my last 3 companies, all I can say is that until today, a lot of it is resolved on a case-by-case basis. My manager would leave, or my boss would leave it to, so long as you can come up with a solution that makes sense. So this could, for example, involve working a little bit more before your holiday, or making it such that you do not have any crucial features at all, during that period. Or, for example, if you have a product manager counterpart in China, he or she could drive the sprint when you are enjoying for example, your Christmas holiday, which they do not celebrate. Definitely something that teams will grapple with, but I haven't really felt it to be such a big hindrance because people just find ways around it.
So what is it that you look for that is specific to Chinese tech companies?
What I look for in a product management role, firstly, it has to be an actual product management role. It's not like a glorified form of project manager, glorified form of business analyst. Okay. You're actually doing a product manager role. It's not just your job title says product managers. I think the second point is that, myself personally, I would rather work for a large company than a startup. Because as a product manager, you really struggle with doing so many different jobs. You have to liaise with so many different teams. And imagine if on top of that, you have to do a lot of, for example, admin things because your company is small, you don't even have an admin department. I think this will really detract from the amount of attention I can give to, my product manager specific job responsibilities. I think the last thing would just be simply the overall package. In terms of compensation, to work-life balance, which we've kind of talked about as well. And I think possibly more important than all of this is it a place you feel comfortable in, right? It could pay you very well. They could give you 20 days of leave a year, but if you cannot even get along with your team, you do not trust your mentor, then I think it's not just for project management, but for any other job, it's a very big red flag. This has actually not been the case, and I'm quite happy where I am today.
How is it peculiar to Chinese tech companies per se? You could possibly get that in also like a big tech company or maybe a big Southeast Asian tech company. Why specifically for Chinese tech companies?
So from what I've observed for the last few years, there just aren't that many product management opportunities in Singapore. I think one way to look about it is, if you live in the US, something to aim for would be the associate product manager roles. Or we have Facebook and Google in Singapore. They don't have an APM program that I know about. So for one, the opportunities are somewhat limited. It's being at the right place at the right time. Based on just language alone, we have advantage as at least Singaporeans or people who are bilingual over people in China. Well, growing up in Singapore, you learn Chinese to a certain level. So even though it's quite difficult, you're not learning the language from scratch. Most Singaporeans that I know of, they can reach business proficiency in about 2 years. Whereas conversely, your China counterpart, they could possibly spend 5 or 6 years working to MSc, but I've observed that their English it still struggles to reach a business proficiency level.
Right.
So one thing is simply based on language alone. I think the second is also simply you get opportunities for very exciting projects because Chinese companies, or especially giant, very big Chinese companies like Tencent and NetEase, they're at a stage where they finally recognize that they really want to go global. Well, in fact, Tencent and NetEase, they both aim to have about 50% of their revenue to come from overseas markets by 2025. So what you see is a big push in resources and focus. And where does it start? Singapore is the focal point. Usually if they have a product innovation hub outside of China, well, at least as I've seen, it has started in Singapore. So I think it's also about, this is just a very exciting time to join these companies.
Thanks so much, Chan Wei, for sharing all these insights. I have so many more questions as well to ask you, Chan Wei, but I think I will also keep it for the next video where we will dive in deep about the differences between Chinese tech companies, big ones and small ones in Southeast Asia. So if you're interested in that, please stay tuned to the next episode. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye. See you next week.